A very good morning to you. Travel and Things, in association with Sun Destinations, iconic destinations with amazing experiences, present In Conversation With. I am your host, David Batsoffen, and I'm joined today by the CEO and the owner of the De Hoop collection. That's William Stevens. William, good morning. Welcome to you.
Good morning, David. Lovely to speak to you.
Thank you so very much for joining me. Tell us a little bit about De Hoop.
De Hoop was one of the first tourism public-private partnerships concluded with ourselves and Cape Nature, probably some 15 years or more ago.
Right.
Um, and and it was essentially a process to let tourism be handled by people who were from tourism and let Cape Nature concentrate on the environmental issues of the reserve.
Right.
And I think it's been a very good um, partnership. Um, and it's been a conversion of from the early days if you'd been there. There were really we renovated in excess of 70 really pretty much derelict buildings,
Mhm.
uh, converted them into a tourism space.
Right.
And De Hoop itself is probably the foremost whale viewing prop Southern Africa, in
Mm.
as much as it has the densities that pretty much no other property has. There was quite a couple of years ago, there was quite an interesting uh, count that they did from Claremont through to Infanta, which is on the other side of the reserve. And there were interim counts for the annual whale count. And they counted of the order of about 1,400 whales from Claremont through to Infanta. But of that total, 1,200 were on the coastline of the Hoop. So it
Wow.
really is it's the breeding ground of the preferred breeding ground of generally of the southern right whales. But after they've bred, they tend to move up and down the coast,
Mm.
and from season to season, the volumes uh, do become quite cyclical depending on how they've eaten, the whether they're pregnant or not, etc. And so you get quite a lot of variation in that. On top of that, De Hoop has got fantastic array of fynbos. And as a nature reserve, also, again, and probably one of the biggest herds of eland that you're likely to see in Southern Africa, was probably sitting at De Hoop, for example.
I
But
was going to say, when you say biggest, it's biggest in size and in volume.
no, absolutely. And the nice thing is, they're actually quite chilled to look at because generally eland they're quite skittish, but in the De Hoop environment they're very chilled, and you get really good viewings and the ability to get some really nice photography on them.
Yeah. I want to ask you, William, how many liters of white paint did you guys go through when you repainted? Because they
Well,
are blindingly white, all the buildings.
originally they were whitewashed,
Right.
and that was going to be completely impractical to try and maintain that. So I negotiated a good deal with a paint supplier in Brazil.
Paint
But yeah,
sponsored by.
I think it is a labor of love, to be honest, because we have, I think, 3 to 4 painters painting every single day of the year.
I was going to say it's much like the San Francisco Bay Bridge. By the time they get from one side to the other, it's time to start painting all over again. I think it takes them a year to
Absolutely.
paint the bridge.
No,
But at least
absolutely,
at
absolutely.
least you know you've got a job for life. And if I'm not mistaken, on that bridge, there are fathers who've passed the jobs down to their sons, and it's just
Yeah.
generational. The accommodation is varied. The accommodation that my wife and I stayed in was, I believe, a converted horse stables, and this was the view out of the main doors, which is truly
I actually think it was
spectacular.
I actually think it was a sheep
Was it cheap?
at
I
that
shall
building.
I shall have to go back. I shall have to go back and correct the blog that I wrote. Or can I put horse slash sheep barn just in case?
Absolutely,
Cover
absolutely.
all the
I'm sure.
bases.
Well, in fact, the bathroom side of the unit actually had a whole lot of saddles and everything else in when we converted it.
Okay, and I don't think you can ride sheep. Although, hey, listen, you never know. People ride the weirdest things nowadays. This is the main public space, and I just love that these overstuffed couches in fabric that you last saw in your granny's home are just so special. They really and truly are. Talk us through the decor in the building, and who and why was it done in this manner?
You know, the we and our my wife uh, um, has done all the Nini has done all the interiors for us,
Hmm.
and I think it was we tried to fit it with what would have been appropriate at the time,
Right.
and we filtered it through all the units. It's interesting that you say that because one has quite a wide disparity, ironically, with visitors. Some of the younger generation like very clean,
Mhm.
minimalist uh, uh, accommodation. Whereas on the other hand, we have a lot of people who compliment us on the accommodation. So it's always difficult to try and find the balance. So ironically, one of the new buildings we're doing a new villa in De Hoop, which we
Mhm.
hopefully will open in November, is much more colourful and contemporary in design to try and find the middle ground. But
Next,
I think we always just found it was better to do it ourselves because it was
yeah,
easier to source. We were able to, when you think of the amount of the interiors that we have to put together, we have to do it cost effectively.
correct.
And with having interior decorators would have been really very complicated to do. I mean, we as I said to you, we renovated in excess of 770 buildings.
Yeah. Well, you know what you can do the next time people complain, William, is hand them flat pack from IKEA and an Allen key and say, build your own furniture.
No, absolutely, and return it in the box.
And now, exactly, with all the pieces still there. These buildings or these stone walls, which appear all over the property,
Yeah.
fascinated me. So I did a deep dive and I used ChatGPT and I sent it a picture and I said, tell me about these ruins. And it couldn't. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping you can.
There were the one you've got in front there. I'd have to get the answer for you, to be honest. But
Right,
what you will find in a lot of the farms, there were those in the early days. There really wasn't fencing, etc. So
right.
if you have a look carefully when you're driving into the hoop, you'll find or see a lot of farm boundaries have actually been built with
Mhm.
that stone walling going up as the divides to keep some of the game in
Right.
and animals in. Very often these are synonymous with burial spots where families may have um, some of their grave grave things put in. This is
Mhm.
not the case there. I'd have to get you the right answer on
Okay.
that one.
All right. I didn't, it wasn't a trick question. I was just interested because, as I say, I wandered around the property and dry stone walling is very special because this is not held together with mortar. This is just held together with pressure of stones.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. We had probably about 7 or 8 years ago, we had a fire,
Mhm.
and we had to rebuild the building as it would have been built at the time.
Right.
So Heritage the architects gave us all the recipes. We couldn't use conventional concrete. And when you unpack the walls, it was mud, mortar, and a type of cementitious compound that came out of shells and lime, etc. So
Right.
quite interesting to see when you see it in its deconstructed state.
Is this the new villa that you were referring to earlier, or one of them?
No, that is a three-bedroom house that we have.
Okay.
But the villa is being built out of the same framework, but we've gutted it completely. The new villa we've done essentially as a fully catered, guided, bedroom, bathroom, ensuite, swimming pool, hot tub,
Wow.
both back verandas, and we just see an interesting market at the top end of the market where families are looking for private space, where they have the attention to detail individually rather than in a crowd.
Mm.
And and we're going to launch that in November, and I'm sure it'll be very successful.
I
Um,
do hope so. You know, the interesting thing about De Hoop for me is normally my away trips involve a bush break of some sort. And I figure if I'm in the bush, I have to be on a vehicle. So in the mornings, you're up at 4:30 or 5, depending on the season, and you come away from that needing a holiday. But at
yeah.
De Hoop, I could sleep if I wanted to. I could sleep until 10 o'clock and then get up and wander around, which was a real break for me.
Well, I think there are a couple of criteria that we find. The one is that I think in this modern sort of era of cell phones and iPads, etc., when you look at families, uh, uh, there's often a complete social disconnect because all they're
Mm,
doing is their screens. What we find a lot is that families like to come through to the Hoop, sit around a campfire. We intentionally don't have proper Wi-Fi at the units
mm.
and or TVs. So people sit around the fire and it's a family reconnect. That's the
Yeah.
one side. I think the other side is that we all live in such a hurried world that De Hoop offers us such a variety of they really are activity driven experiences, not in and out of cars or going to restaurants, etc. So I think it I think it has a diversity of interests that really most people can identify with.
Yeah.
So I think you're absolutely right. People it's a chill out area, and after you've been there for a weekend, you actually feel like you've been there for a fortnight.
True enough. Now, you alluded to the whales earlier, and I have to say, I went up, my wife and I went to Kopi Alleen, which is just down the
Yeah.
way from you. Bites wasn't open, but we just had breakfast, so we weren't interested in that. And although I'm born and bred in Port Elizabeth, I'd never seen a whale in its wild environment. And I
Yeah.
did not know how slowly these creatures move through the water. So I was staring at what I thought was a rock until this happened. And then I'd realized that I'd been looking at a whale for about the last 10 minutes.
Well, I tell you what's really interesting of that Kopi Alleen area. If you're sitting on the dunes and you look slightly towards Arneson direction,
Mm.
in that sort of area, I mean, we in August quite often we uh, do some helicopter flights in that area, and in a single sighting out of a chopper, you're quite capable of seeing 200 to 300 whales in a single sighting, and you can't photograph it. And when you look at each whale, they're generally two to three around. So if you see one, there are actually probably three or four of them where the one you've seen.
Yeah.
So it is. I mean, it is phenomenal on some of the densities that we've experienced over the years.
And now back to the interior, a different view of that lounge and dining area. It's just so vast and open and spacious, and the white walls just add to that feeling of openness. It's almost as if the inside is out and the outside is in.
Well, this is probably quite an interesting room because we repurposed two workshops And you can see there's a bar going across the room. We needed to sort of support the roof bombs so
Yeah.
they didn't fall down. And I mean, in fact, all the engineers that come through and they look at the way that those farmers in the early days did the structure, they say, well, they clearly hadn't gone to university to do engineering, structural engineering.
Engineer.
Anyway,
But
anyway,
William,
so
it's like,
we sorted that out, but essentially it's two workshops put together.
okay.
And we then opened up the front. So it's a repurpose of a building. And in fact, that building will probably be in the next 6 months. We're going to do quite an extensive renovation of that to really open up the views over the sunset views that you get and over the area. And also just to increase the internal space a little bit, if we do have weddings or functions and we need a little bit more space, that
Right.
we've got it properly undercover. But it's a very, very busy room. I mean, as you've probably seen, I mean, every night we're probably doing anywhere between 70 and 100 meals for dinner, and
And
it's well utilized.
it is indeed, and it's a beautiful space to be in. Now, you have an exhibition on at the moment. It's just off the reception area, and I have to say,
Mm.
your staff are so special. All of them are overly friendly. It's like when you walk in there, it's like you've known them for years. They say hello and welcome in a manner that is fewer. I've had at fewer other lodges and hotels. You know, you sort of go, "Do I know you?" And they go, "No, we've just met, but hey, welcome to De Hoop."
Yeah.
But what is this exhibition all about, and how long will it still be with you?
I think we're hoping that it'll be indefinite. Um, it initially was on a 3-year basis.
Right.
Um, and I think the concern really was that it would be looked after, maintained, and utilized for a number of reasons, with bringing school kids through there.
Mm.
But it's the history of modern man and how we reverse colonized the world from Southern Africa, as it were,
Yeah.
and went through to Europe, etc. The nice thing is that quite a few of the exhibits that are there are either originals or copies of what was found on the property,
Right.
and a number of other caves along that same type of coastline. Um, Interestingly, the research that um, Christopher Henshelwood and his team from the University of Bergen are going to be doing over the next 4 years is exclusively actually on De Hoop and on some of the newer caves that have not been explored at this stage. And they're having a look at some of the caves that I've seen pictures of. They almost rival parts of sightings like you'd expect to see in the Kanga Cave. So
Mm.
there's some fantastic areas for them to do research on. So I look forward to seeing what else they uncover.
Now,
I mean,
people are going to say,
it's interesting with what people find. I
mm,
remember we had a wedding at De Hoop many years ago, and I actually was a bit of an idiot. I should have secured it at the time. But a guy said, "You won't believe it." He said, "I've got a black rhino horn which I found in the sand dunes of Kopje that we found in the sand dunes of Kopje Leer." So I think a couple of hundred years on from when it was sort of relatively uninhabited, I
yeah.
think there were really interesting things that you would have found.
Next time I come down and bring in a metal detector with me. There must be all sorts of metal stuff hidden away. People are going to say to me, "Why don't you show us what's on the other side of these doors?" And the answer to that is no. You're going to have to go and visit De Hoop and find out for yourself. It's as simple as that.
Well,
You,
interestingly enough, it was put together by Chris Henschel and his team,
mm,
and the guy involved in the octopus. You've probably seen that film, The Octopus Teacher.
yes, Craig.
Craig, yeah, Craig
Mm,
Foster. And it was a collective effort, and so the team did a great job together with ourselves in putting that together. And
And kudos to everybody involved because it's a beautiful display. It really and truly
yeah,
is, and it makes you
and
stop and think.
it's a unitary. Um, um, you can. It's a single reason that you could have to going to the Hoek, for instance, other than just going for a weekend,
Yeah, true
because
enough.
it's so interesting. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the bathroom in the sheep slash horse barn, and this is that bathroom.
Yeah.
I actually think I didn't quite measure it correctly, but I think this is almost bigger than my first apartment when I moved to Johannesburg and lived in downtown Joburg in 1975. It's a huge space, and there's still a toilet that's stuck in the lower corner, which you can't
Yeah.
see. But the layout is so special, William. Lying in that bath, there are windows on either side that you can look out and 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 look up at the ceiling because the ceiling is also fascinating.
It's was probably just missing a fireplace, but
I
but
thought you were
it was
putting that in next week.
yeah, absolutely. But I think it really goes back to repurposing rooms,
Mm.
and they are what they are, and then utilizing them to best form. So this was next door to the the Flay Suite that you were in, and we said, well, let's use it. And we'll make a really nice sized bathroom in it.
Now you can see the bath in the background, and this is the size of the bedroom. It incorporates a living space, a seating area, and you can sit as my wife did on that settee and look at the sunset every night. It's a huge space. It really and truly is. Yet you've done it up in such here it's minimalist, but there's just enough of everything to make it look special.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's sort of when you open those big doors, it's a lovely view out over the play as well,
Yeah.
which is fabulous. I mean, you can see by the thickness of those walls, it insulates very well too.
And they got I don't have a picture on this lot of slides, but there's a teeny tiny windows with with this depth of wall. And there was a reason for that that I found out was to keep the place cool in winter and cool in summer and warm in winter. Now, talking about cool in summer, your wine cellar, A, is above ground, and B, is also in a repurposed building.
Absolutely, it's in a silo, so it remains remarkably cool
Mm,
uh, in there, and we've put a collection together of initially primarily wines from the um, from the area, and then there was the wider Overberg, and then there were certain wines that were not prevalent in the Overberg that we needed to source in, like Cabernet, for example, from Stellenbosch, etc. And so it's evolved into um, we currently have approximately 400 different types of wine in the cellar. So it's a remarkable sort of collection of wines there. And it does change from time to time because from time to time we buy up collections from people and overlay it in there. So there quite often are some quite interesting wines that come in there. But I think at the moment we have very close to 15,000 bottles of wine in our storeroom. So one of the great things for visitors that come is that we'll always be able to have nicely aged wine for people when they come with a nice diversity of selection. And we've also tried on a pricing basis, if we buy it at a certain price, unless we've bought new stock in, we don't reprice it every year. So
you're right.
you may find some really great offerings in there. When I know just recently we had Villafonte, which someone wanted, and well, I had rather than the one day I arrived, I saw all the Villafonte had disappeared. And so what happened there? And well, I looked at it, and in fact, the prices that we were selling at were less than the trade prices in the industry. So that's what we try and do,
So somebody
it's a
decided,
nice spread.
yeah, somebody decided they know the price of that wine. Let's take 16 bottles. Or how many bottles do you have? We'll take them all.
Like, yeah, and you know what we have also done is we've sourced various wines that we've branded under our
Okay.
De Hoop collection, that label, which is nice for clients, and they know it's a good quality wine.
William, do you sometimes get guests who have heard about your wine collection and they think they're going to try and be clever? So they ask for what they believe is an obscure wine. And then the waiter comes out and goes, "Is this what you were talking about, sir or madam?"
Well, I think I think we certainly do find people can be of that. Uh, we do find that from time to time, but our wine lists themselves actually lists every wine that we have. So
Ah, okay.
they know
But
there's no guesswork. If it's on the list, it's there. But it's great. And we have some fabulous wine weekends. Um, over the years, we've had Bruce Jack and David Michael Fridjon did a
okay. Yeah.
weekend this year. Sane with David Trafford done some remarkable wine tasting weekends there, and various other ones that we've had. So um, to hope we try and do some of those event weekends. A fabulous weekend that we do is Wine, Wales, and Music, which is we get guys from the Joburg Philharmonic Orchestra come and play
Ah, it must
usually.
be wonderful. You can do it on the
We
lawn with
have
a flay in the background.
Well, we do it in winter actually, so that we have to keep them inside. But the we do contemporary music on the we might get a singer in on the Friday and do the
Right.
proper show on Saturday. We overlay it with nice wineries, street farms, activities with guest speakers. So those sort of weekends are always great to do it together.
It sounds like it. Now, people are also saying at this particular point in our chat, where is this De Hoop of which you speak and how can I find it?
The easiest thing is to sort of go on to www.dehoopcollection.co.za or
How far
com.
is it
And
from Cape Town, though?
roughly about 3.5 hours from Cape Town.
Yeah. So it's an easy drive. I mean, you could go up on a Friday and come back on a Sunday afternoon, basically. So you've had a nice weekend away.
No, absolutely. And the roads are good. I
Yeah.
think it's easy driving, and um, we get funny enough, a lot of people who love with doing things like mountain biking,
Mm,
where they don't have the risks of the danger of driving in traffic, etc.
correct. Also, they're not going to
Parking
get
in traffic.
eaten by predators.
No, exactly. So we we find a lot of people love coming out for weekends and just doing a bit of mountain biking
Yeah.
or riding
There's nice
around.
walks.
So,
You can go for a putter around the flay on your boat. There's
yeah,
whale watching, as you say. Whale season is when?
they start coming back roughly in about May,
Mm.
but the peak season is really probably August through October.
Okay. So if you want to
And
see
then by,
whales,
by, by,
people,
by, by probably the end of November, they generally have the southern right
moved
whales
on.
have gone. But some of the other types of whales still hang around. So it's really just the southern right whales in particular that come
That
and go
move
like that.
through. Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you are sitting at Kopialean, people, and you do see a rock, I promise you, if you look at it long enough, it will move left because they seem to all move right to left because they're going up the coast. But I suppose there's always one that's going to come in the wrong direction, and you've got to watch out for those as well.
No, absolutely. And yeah, that just the other thing which we find a lot is we have an airstrip in the reserve.
Mhm.
So we have people who do fly, love to sort of come through and spend a weekend or come through and bring their mates through for a lunch. And that is quite popular in the season.
If I'd but known you had an airstrip, I would have flown myself down.
Okay,
Like,
good.
yeah, right. I got rid of the aircraft just last week. It was costing too much. William, it's been an absolute joy talking to you. The De Hoop collection is stunning. It really and truly is. I wish it all the strength going forward. I do hope to return in the not too distant future to find out what changes have been made. How do people, aside from the website, is there a direct phone line if they want to book? Is there a number, or have I
Yes,
caught you
there
off
is.
guard?
Yes, there is. And the number is 021 422 4522.
021 422 4522.
That's it.
That's it. Great stuff. I've been chatting with William Stevens, who's the owner and CEO of the De Hoop Collection. This has been In Conversation With. My name is David Batshoff. And William, thank you so very much for joining me this morning. And until the next time, cheers.
Pleasure, and thank you very much. Thank you.